So good morning to you. My name's Alex Morey from Accolade Building Services. I'm here at the Easy Hotel, which is in Summertown in Oxford. It is Thursday the 12th of May. It's around about 10 o'clock. So just quickly looking at the hotel. So there's ground floor, and the accommodations on the first, second and third floors. Reception here. There's also some retail units. We'll go inside and we'll make our way into the plant room, and then we'll start looking at the services. Okay, so here we are in the plant room. I'll just give you a very quick look around, and then we'll come to each item individually. We've got the incoming gas on the valve. There we've got the electrical distribution boards. We've got a booster set, which is a 3-pump booster set. Then we have our cold water storage tank. Again, I'll come to each one of these separately in a minute. There's our CHP and a buffer. 2 HWS buffers. There's our 3 gas-fired water heaters. There's a little pressurization unit. So the buffer vessel to the CHP is split. It's got a small little, there it is, plate heat exchanger and a pump set. Again, I'll come to that very shortly. Again, there's our cylinders, our buffers. Incoming water main down here. So incoming water main, isolation valve, everything on the hot and cold with RAS-approved fittings. That's our isolation valve. As I said, come through, we've got water meters, further isolation valves across the water meters. All the pipe work's been fully insulated in either phenolic or rock wool and overclad in alley cladding, as you can see. All the valves have been ID'd as well. There's tags on them all which correlate back to the schematics, which I'll show you in a minute. Expansion valves there. Again, gas-fired water heaters. So I think we go around each item in its own. Sorry, that's the BMS panel there. You can see there is a alarm on it, which we'll have to have a look at. But we're going to go around to each one of these individually. So before we look at the cold water storage tank, it's important to know all the mechanical systems are being installed in compliance with Building Regs Part L2A, and a report has been produced which we've demonstrated this, including issue of a vehicle document. So here we go, the cold water storage tank. So it's bylaw 30 compliant tank, fully insulated. If we look, we've got temperature sensors. We also have high and low level alarms around the back, which I can't actually get to be honest with you, but they are around there. Overflows and warning pipe. Overflow goes down to the ground. Warning pipe into a floor gully. All nicely supported and fixed pretty well. Isolation valves off the discharge of the cold water storage tank. That pipe work then feeds into our booster sets. So it's a little duty point booster set, all fully commissioned by Duty Point themselves. So from the booster set, we then go through a PRV which serves the whole building. So this is actually the main boosted cold feed to the whole building. So 180 bedrooms in the hotel and the back of house areas as well. We've got an electronic water conditioner there, which is a power mag. Again, the water conditioner has been fully commissioned by the manufacturer. You can see all working fine. And all the cold water has been chlorinated throughout the building, and also the incoming for the connection made by Thames Water to BS 8558, and lab samples and microbiological samples have all been taken and submitted, and that's all within the O&M manuals. Okay, so we come to the HWS generating plant. We've got the CHP, and we also have 3 gas-fired water heaters. So looking at the water heaters, first of all, that's our incoming gas. So again, these have all been installed to Building Regs Part G3, which is non-domestic gas safe certification. Here we've got temperature pressure relief valve, flexi hose into the expansion vessel, and that goes through and picks up the same pipework, feeds into the pipework for the safety valve. Copper all the way down to a nicely installed tundish, again all nice and rigid, and that then terminates onto the floor. That's the same for all three of these water heaters. They're all Andrews water heaters, as you can see. So we've got a flow out the tank or cylinder and a return in, and that's our cold feed at the back. Sorry, that's not actually cold feed, that's actually HWS return from the buffers. I'll go through that in a bit more detail in a minute. So the temperatures on these have been set, as you can see there, they're all set to 63 degrees, and we do have a building management system on this job for an IQ View 4 controller. If I go in there, I've already set it up, you can see there that the HOS flow temperature is at 59 and the return is at 58. The flow temperature, they've probably drawn off a bit of water. That was above 60 about 5 minutes ago, but that'll pick up pretty quickly. You can hear the booster set working away there as well, so it's probably quite a busy time for the hotel. Okay, going back to the gas-fired water heaters, these are the flue connections. So the flue has all been installed to conform with BS EN 1856 and BS 6644, Clean Air Act. You see, all well done. There's a track there as well. So our flue, again, all the certification for the flue is within the O&M manuals. As it goes through the wall here, it then goes into a riser, which is fully accessible, so you can carry out visual inspections. So that's the gas-fired water heaters. If we come over to the CHP machine, there it is. So the CHP, again, non-domestic gas safe certification, and has been sized in compliance with CIBSE AM12. There's a flue off the back of the CHP. It was installed by the same supplier as the gas-fired water heaters. As you can see, it comes up to twin wall flue. It again takes the same route through there into a riser, which goes right to the top of the building, three stories up. So the flue again conforms to BS EN 1856 and BS 6644. All the pipe work's been flushed and cleaned and chlorinated throughout for the HWS. And the CHP machine, which is a EC Power, is actually supplied by a company called SAV. Who did a very good job, fully commissioned, fully signed off, including the G99 documentation as well. So over here we have the schematics, about the best place we could find to stick them, to be perfectly honest, but they work, they're fine. Everything's all, there's a valve chart here, which correlates to the numbers in the plant room, and then correlates to the drawings. So I don't know if you can see that, but you've got your CHP here into a thermal store, which is then divided by a plate heat exchanger, and then you have a transfer pump which basically takes the water back into the buffer vessels. So the whole theory is the CHP does the work, and then if there's more demand, hot water demand required, then the gas-fired water heaters kick in. Okay, so walking over to the BMS, I mentioned it earlier, here's the panel. There is a fault light on that which we'll need to do a bit more investigation into. But everything's fully controllable, hand-off autos, as normal, and any faults there as well. Say IQ View 4 controller, again fully commissioned by something called Intandem, who we use a lot, do a very good job. Coming around here to the incoming gas, so incoming gas through the wall, comes from a kiosk over at the boundary. Isolation valve, test and purge points, gas solenoid valve there, which is wired back in and goes into the trunking and then comes back to the panel. There's a fire alarm interface module above the BMS panel that's wired into the panel. On activation of the fire alarm, the gas solenoid valve will shut. Again, that's all been tested and signed off. I think that's pretty much it for the plant room. This is all the hot water generation plant. The heating throughout the heating and cooling is done through a VRF system. I'll just do a very quick brief rundown on that and go to the central controllers. But pretty much in this plant room, you have got, say, cold water, mains cold water, boosted cold water, and you've got your hot water generation and storage. So, quick look at the incoming gas. So, this is as it comes through the wall, just fully sealed. Isolation valve, test and purge points, and a gas solenoid valve here, which is wired in through there, and that actually goes back to the mechanical control panel. There's a fire alarm interface above the panel, which is there. So that's wired into the panel. On activation of fire alarm, that gas valve will shut. Again, that's all been fully commissioned and tested. There are 2 other gas lines there as well. They're just future use lines which go into the retail units. They're not actually live. They're just waiting for someone to require some gas in the units and some meters to be put at the boundary. It's all been tested. It's just it will need to be further tested and purged by whoever takes out the lease on the retail units, and if they require gas. So going back to the hot water, so mentioned earlier, we've got gas-fired water heaters, CHP. We've then got these 2 big buffer vessels. This is the hot water storage, so it's quite a high demand here for hot water. So the principle is the CHP will operate first, and then as required, these cylinders will then be topped up by the gas-fired water heaters. Again, if you look at these buffer vessels here, we've got safety discharge valves all in copper pipe work, and then all the way down to the ground. Again, all RAS approved. The proprietary insulation jackets are all fitted as well. All pipe work's been insulated, overclad, and ID'd as well. And hopefully no open ends. So a very quick overview of the back of house. This happens to be the disabled toilet. See there's a disabled handrail, seat, mixer valve put in there. If you come down to plumbing, you've got some chrome plated copper, a couple of ball fix valves down there, end of line drain cocks, flexi hoses, no blender below because the blender is actually built into the mixer tap itself. Again, they've all been commissioned and tested to make sure they are operating at the correct temperature. We've got electric panel heaters in here as well. They all have a time clock. So the back of house is, and the reception, sorry, the back of house is heated by wire panel heaters. The bedrooms are all heated by air conditioning units that provide simultaneous heating and cooling. Ventilation in here as well. So we've got a number of fans and heat recovery units around these areas, providing ventilation all to part F. You just come into here, which is I've just cleared the cupboard out, actually it's a bit of a mess. Some more, again, a mixer tap there, and some plumbing underneath there. So pipework's all insulated behind the carcass into the cupboards. Some pretty much press fit all throughout this job. Again, it's all been pressure tested and certs are in the manuals, and that's our waste there. Again, ventilation is provided by supplying extract grills within the ceiling makeup, and we've got a controller on the wall there which provides user adjustment. Okay, so we're now in the ground floor office, which is adjacent to the reception. I said earlier, the heating and cooling throughout the building is all done through a 3-pipe VRF system which offers simultaneous heating and cooling. Installation has been done in compliance with the CIBSE Guide B heating for ventilation, air conditioning, refrigeration, and CIBSE TM44, and there's a 12-month maintenance contract in line with F-gas regulations. The equipment's all Toshiba. It's basically a wall-mounted fan coil in each room, so that the guests can have user control over temperature and fan speeds. And here we've got central controllers as well, so this is where the staff can interrogate the systems and see what's going on, and obviously for servicing as well. So there's 180 rooms all spread across these 4 controllers. We've also got a refrigerant leak detection system as well there. So in each of the bedrooms there is a leak detection sensor which wires back to these central controllers. In the event of a leak, it will shut the system down and alert the hotel that there is an issue. There's various small little systems around as well. There's a couple of little split units like this one here, and they'll have a wall mounted controller. The other controller on the right hand side there, I think it's the right, is the one for, yeah, it is the one for the ducted unit in reception. Again, they're just local control over those. Okay, so here we are in one of the hotel rooms. Compact and bijou, I think, is probably best description, but that's a pretty much standard of the rooms. So ventilation, there's a heat recovery unit above the toilet pod. That's the toilet bathroom in there, we'll go in there in a minute. There's a supply grill in the wall here. There's also an extract grill above the pod, which is there. That's it, focus hopefully, there you go. So the heat recovery unit is above here, and it vents through 2 louvers above the window. Air conditioning units, I mentioned them earlier. There's a Toshiba wall mounted unit in each room. That goes down to a controller on the wall, which the end user, hotel occupant, has got the ability to change fan speeds and temperatures and so forth. There's also the leak detection sensor, which links back to the leak detection panels we looked at earlier in the ground floor office. So that will detect refrigerant leak and will shut the system down. So this system here is all controllable locally there and also at the office. Again, all being fully commissioned by Toshiba actually, it's our installer and Toshiba both signed it off, and all the VRF is again in within regs. So now we're going to look at some of the handover documentation, and in particular the operation and maintenance manual that was handed over on practical completion at Easy Hotel. So fairly standard O&M scope of works document, tells the end user what we actually installed. Manufacturer and suppliers information in here. It's full of all the schedules and literature. So in here you'll find a schedule for every piece of equipment that we've installed and the warranty period as well. There's a recommended spares section, design data. So in the design data, we've got all our design calculations, ventilation calculations, heat gain calcs for the air conditioning, heat loss calcs for the heaters, the Part L2A report, pipe sizing, gas calcs, SAP calcs, and the SVP loading calculations. We then got the operating and routine maintenance. This basically tells the end user how the plant and equipment operates, gives you fault diagnosis and emergency procedures just in case something goes wrong. Health and safety folder, full of the RAMs, and there's a COSH section as well. Testing and commission, which we'll come back to in a bit more detail. There's a record drawing section as well, so there'll be a full set of as-built drawings in here for the domestics, the ventilation, the air conditioning, the drainage, and the controls. And the last section is just a final electronic copy. Going back to section 7, so if you go in here, this is a list of all the test sheets that were handed over on the completion of Easy Hotel. I'm just going to look at the most important ones to do with the domestic water and the heating. So I've already opened some up here. So first of all, this is our contract completion certificate, which will be issued, and this was actually issued on the 17th of November. And then we also have a copy here that a client acknowledges that they've had receipt of the manual. When this was handed over, you'll see there were actually a couple of items outstanding. One being the panel heaters. We had a couple that were faulty that have been rectified, and the CHP plant, we had no permanent power in the building, so that was actually commissioned the early part of this year, 2022. So again, that's our index, which I just showed you, full set of test sheets there. And as I said, I'll go down to the relevant ones, the test sheets associated with the hot water and heating, or domestics. So there's a section for domestic water pressure testing certificates. So every bit of pipe throughout the building. It's actually an A3 drawing there, hence why it's the wrong way, but there's a test certificate. We did a lot of sectional testing on this project, and then one big overall test on each floor for the domestic hot water and the domestic cold water. Again, that was all witnessed by the client, as you can see down there. And at the end there's a calibration certificate for the gauge that was used as well. Next one I'm going to move to is the HWS balancing. So a company here called PGS, one of our subcontractors, they carried out the testing and commissioning of the hot water circulation throughout the building. As you can see, everything is fully compliant. You'll notice there are some figures here which are lower. These rooms here and on the second floor, they're all UA disabled Doc M rooms, hence why the temperatures are obviously the returns below 50, so you've got mixer taps in them. So again, if we look through here, just quickly skim through everything, it's fully compliant and signed off. Next up we're going to look at is the gas certificates. So two companies carried these out on our behalf, both gas safe registered. This is the test for the 32mm MDPE as it came in for the future use into the plant room. And then here, that was just literally a strength test. There's no meters actually connected to this section yet, so there's no test and purge being carried out. This is the gas calculations and test and purge certificates for the hotel supply. So this is the main supply coming into the plant room that serves the gas-fired water heaters and the CHP. So again, gas safe registered company have carried this out on our behalf, and that's all the purging and strength test certification, including their OPSI certificate and calibration certificate for the equipment. This is the commission certificate for the gas-fired water heaters. They're Andrews water heaters, and they were commissioned by Andrews themselves. And again, all signed off with no issues. SAV, so SAV, the manufacturer and supplier, supplier of the CHP. They commission the CHP as well. So here we go. It's a full CHP documentation. Again, no issues at the moment. They're gas safe registered as well. They carried out a gas purge on the CHP machine. The G99, there you go, that's what I was looking for. The G99 is included in there as well, that's all signed off. Next test I've got, this is the commission report for the cold water booster set, manufactured by a company called Duty Point, and they commissioned the set themselves. Again, no problems, all signed off. Next thing we're going to look at is the flues. A couple of Sigrun flue systems installed the flues at Easy Hotel. So there's two flues, one for the gas-fired water heaters and one for the CHP. And they did a full set of as-built drawings. And then you've got their declaration of performance and all their calculations to prove that the flue is up to specification. Again, all these documents are actually within the O&M manual that the client has. Okay, next one we're going to look at is the water treatment. So this is for the chlorination. There were two chlorinations carried out. One was for the below ground pipe work that connects to Thames Water. We had to carry this out before Thames Water will connect, so that'd be the first one. Again, it's a record to say they've carried it out, and also some lab samples as well. And then there's a second water treatment certificate for the chlorination of the hotel. So this here is for the 180 bed hotel. And again, a couple of samples are taken throughout the building, more than a couple actually. And we had chemistry and microbiological analysis of those taken. And again, no problems there. There you go, 180, call them apartments, they're actually hotel rooms, but we know what they're on about. Next certificate is the commission certificate for the Power Mag water conditioner. That's the electronic water conditioner from the booster set out to the job. This is the test certificates for the Toshiba air conditioning system, so the VRF systems that serve the hotel bedrooms. There's 10 number in total. So if we can just look at this one here, this will be one system here, all these rooms. And the model number, serial number, and in here, in both cooling and heating mode, we've got the return air temperature and the supply air temperatures. So this is what's actually been recorded on site. There's a length of pipe work calculation there and a refrigerant charge, what they've added to the system. And again, it's one for every system there, so there'll be 10 in total. Got to scroll down. They don't look like they're changing, but they are as I scroll. So that's all signed off. And the next certificate, which I think is the last one I'm going to show you, is the BMS. So this is a commission certificate to prove that the BMS company called In Tandem carried this out for us, one of our subcontractors, to verify that the commission, the BMS has been fully commissioned. So this is the trend system that we saw the controller in the plant room in the main control panel.